someone asks me, like, what can I do for the movement, right? And I'm like, well, you tell me, what do you like to do? What do you do in your normal life? Do you like music? Are you a musician? Are you an artist? Are you good at talking to people? Like, we can find a place for you. But at the end of the day, I mean, it really is on us as movement leaders, as folks that are leading organizations and base building organizations, to provide the space to facilitate your leadership development, to be able to participate and plug you in. But at the end of the day, I think everybody has something to contribute. You don't have to be like someone who really likes to knock on a door, even though we do need a lot of people knocking on doors when these kinds of things happen, but there's always something you can do. Just tell us what you're good at.
Yeah, I normally answer that question about what are you passionate about? Because what we know is there's certainly enough work to be done in our community, and very few people willing to do the hard work necessary to get the results we all say we want. And so it really is a matter of, if you're doing something that feeds your passion, then A, it's not work, it's not additional work. I will tell you that Rena and I, we have to do the work we do, right? It's very grateful. We're both grateful we get paid to do it nowadays. But 20, 25 years, I did this work for free. No one ever came to me and said, hey, Joe, I'd like to pay you to actually go out and actually champion rights, civil rights for anybody. And people don't pay you to do that. You do that because it's in your heart and your soul and your spirit, right? Now, luckily, after 30 years of working for free, now I actually get paid to actually to move this kind of work forward. But in those days, in these early days, and in most movements at the beginning, it is the gathering of the willing. It is not the gathering of all the people who need to be there. And the skill is your willingness. I mean, that's what you need. You have a voice, you have a willingness to be a part of something greater than yourself. And that is really key. But before we get too far off track, I want to go back and acknowledge that though we're painting a pretty picture about the kumbaya that happened 30 plus years ago, that was not the lived experience of Black and brown people who were actually trying to be engaged and involved and fighting for the rights of people. That it may or may not have impacted me, but discrimination anywhere impacts me in my view. But let me tell you, it was not easy. White establishments were not welcoming to communities of color. And in fact, there are several times over several campaigns that the organizations that came together to fight whatever the it was would actually do all their campaign planning, and then call the one or two people of color they knew and say, tell all your friends to vote no on this. Well, we'd like to have some money to actually educate our communities. Well, we were not a thought at that original table. It took those of us fighting to say, wait a minute, I spent a lot of time talking to Black ministers, and you want to talk about some really hard conversations when we had ministers that were flaming liberal and extremely conservative, right? We are not monolithic, we are across the board. And the organizations that came about very early, long before basic rights existed, were not organizations that were welcoming to people that look like me. So I want to be really clear that we had to fight to actually be at the table. We had to fight to have a voice. We had to fight to get these. So we were fighting people that we were actually trying to protect and work with. But we had to fight them in order to be recognized as equal players and fighting for civil rights for all of us.
Thank you for your insight. Thank you. What can we elder activists learn from younger activists?
I'll let the junior speak first, because I'm one of those elders now.
Oh my gosh. And somehow I'm becoming that too. I don't know how that happened. Jen's showing me up, so it's great. I mean, I think that one of the things that I really have learned from just even watching Gen Z, I'm an older millennial. I know that I look young
I
too
can
for my
remember
age,
MCs.
but is that we have to trust them to lead. And
Say that again.
we have to trust them to lead. Sometimes I have those moments where I'm just like, wait a minute, I would do that differently. But then I just like see them just making the change, and it's a good reminder that sometimes